found himself in the middle of a dark place, and all the thoughts and ideas and the jinn ideas all came to him, and he stood still. And the man came to see him and rescued him from the situation. And then the man said, "What are you doing out here? Why are you out here in the night?" And he said, "Oh, I'm out here, I'm looking for the jinn. Yeah, I'm looking for them, I want to scare them away." He was a man, as a child, he was very intelligent. And, when he would sit with the scholars of Azhar in their circles, one scholar, it said, would be doing, tafsir of Surah Al-Kahf. This is just an example. And he reached the ayah, ذَلِكَ مَا كُنَّا نَبْغِ فَارْتَدَّ عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ. Okay? And this word, it should be ذَلِكَ مَا كُنَّا نَبْغِي with a ya at the end. Because, and Sayid Qutb, he said, why has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said nabgh? Okay? Noon, ba and ghain without adding the ya. Why? Because there's no reason for the ya to disappear. There's no factor like lam or something, like lam, that would mean that the ya goes away. And at a young age he was asking this question. The Shaykh, he just answered him. They said that this is so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easier for the recitation, to make it easier for the recitation. And he didn't even realize that Sayid Qutb was the one who asked the question. Sayid Qutb, at a young age, he would gather his money, his pocket money, whatever he would have, and he would wait for a man called Am Saleh. Am Saleh would visit village to village, and he would have a bookstore with him, a large collection of books, and he would take it to the villages. When Sayid Qutb would come, Am Saleh, he'd buy books from Am Saleh. Okay, and Am Saleh would have a set of books ready for Sayid Qutb, okay, to purchase. And if he didn't have the money, Sayid Qutb would say, "Let me borrow it. Okay, no, I'll have the money, I'll give it to you, the money next time you come." And like this, at a young age, not more than 12, he had his own personal copy collection of 25 books that he bought with his own money. And at that time, books were not like, cheap now like they are nowadays. Books were expensive. It was an expensive commodity. To have paper and to have books and to have people that were learning and read was an expensive commodity. Yeah, not like nowadays. You buy a book in £5 or £8 and it's easy. But he had a collection. You can ask how many children today have a collection of books that they have bought with their own money. Okay, 25 books. What would he do with these books? He would imitate the scholars that he'd see, the Azhari scholars. So there were like 2 books on magic, and he knew that people were very interested in this subject. And what he would do, he would begin to read these books, and he would begin to give lectures to the rest of the village. And because a lot of the women and the children, they didn't have opportunity to go to the masjid, they would call Sayid Qutb after he finished school to come to their houses and give lectures about these books that he was reading. And he would sit and he would give lectures. But many of the occasions he would be shy and he would refuse to go to the houses of the women while he was a young lad. In 1919, his house, and this is when he was now 13 years old, was a secret meeting point for the revolution, and the revolution in Egypt. And Sayid Qutb would often listen listen to secret meetings, and then later he would go and deliver sermons in the middle of the village about what's happening in the revolution. Sayid Qutb later moved to Cairo. Now why is it that he moved to Cairo? He was in this village called Musha, and now he moved to this large town called Cairo. His mother was very upset at an incident that his father, because he was very generous on his children, and their inheritance was continuously decreasing. And his father basically spent so much on his children that he had no land left, and even his own house he was forced to sell. He was forced to sell the house and rent property. And his mother was very broken-hearted about this, and she said that she wants Sayid Qutb to go out and work and then give the money, earn the money, and then buy back the land. So she sent him to Cairo to work and train to become a teacher. To train to become a teacher, she sent him to Cairo. And so therefore Sayid Qutb, and he went to Cairo, and in 1924 he graduated with a diploma for teaching. But he wasn't happy with this, and he wanted to go into a university called Darul Ulum. Okay, it was one of the most famous universities in Cairo, the Darul Ulum. And before you can go to Darul Ulum, you needed to do a 4-year preparatory course. So Sayid Qutb, he enrolled in this 4-year preparatory course, and then he succeeded in this, and he graduated in 1929, and then he went to Darul Ulum, which he graduated from in 1933. With a first class, okay, we could call a degree in Arabic language and literature. And while he was studying Arabic language and literature, these are the following units that he studied. Okay, Sharia, Arabic and comparative language, logic, philosophy, history and political economics, as well as other units. So those people that say that Sayid Qutb, he didn't study Sharia and he didn't have a knowledge of the Sharia, okay, this is a false accusation. And Darul Ulum was a place where if you went there to study Sharia, okay, they would teach you Sharia properly, and was a very respected place. In 1933, after he graduated, he was employed by the Education Ministry. And then in 1940, he was editor and translator for the ministry. 4 years later, however, 1944, he was transferred to the job by the ministry to the role of school inspector, as they were unhappy with his political views. They didn't like his articles that he was writing and the things that he was translating, so therefore they transferred his job to become a school inspector. In 1948, it should be there to 1950, not 1952. From 1948 to 1950, he was sent to America to study the methodology of education and teaching. And then as soon as he came back from America in 1950, he resigned from the ministry. Okay, he resigned from the ministry after serving all those years. He resigned from the ministry because he differed with them in their political activities. Sayid Qutb, however, after having such a Islamic upbringing, there was a time of Jahiliyyah that he lived, his own Jahiliyyah. Okay, he lived his own Jahiliyyah. And there was a time, and this period lasted 15 years, from 1925 to 1940. And basically it was a period when he went to Cairo. When he went to Cairo and was studying in the universities, and went to Cairo and was studying in these higher education faculties, this is where he began to read about Western civilization and Western culture, and about the principles of materialism. And these concepts, they raised severe doubts in his mind about the religion. And that goes to show, if someone like, some brothers, you sometimes see them, they go, to study in these Islamic or these so-called universities where they have like Islamic studies master's course, okay, Islamic studies 3 years course and PhD, and they become very confused afterwards. They think they're very solid on the religion, but because of the kind of ideas that are being, implanted in them, they become very confused. And if someone like Sayid Qutb, having such an Islamic upbringing, could become confused by these ideas, it shows that we also should be very careful when tackling these ideas. Sayid Qutb, he lived in doubt, worry, fear, pain, rebelliousness, and he wanted to know always one thing. He wanted to know what was the secret of life. He wanted to know what was the secret of life. He became so confused he didn't know. And he said about himself that he would often cry and scream and wish death would take him away from the pain and contradiction that he was living. He lost all sense of tranquility and inner peace, and did not know the pure purpose of creation or the wisdom behind the creation of man. And he even recorded all of this period in a selection of poems which he called The Unknown Coast, Ash-Shati al-Majhul. And he's described himself as, for example, he is standing on a coast and he's looking at the sea, and he doesn't know what the sea is, how big it is, what the name of it is, and that sea represented his life, because he didn't know what life was about at that time. How did Sayid Qutb then begin to become an Islamist? And how did Islam then permeate his life once again? You see, when Sayid Qutb, he discovered the deen, a complete change overcame him, and he moved to the world, away from the world of ignorance and confusion, and in darkness, to the world of Iman, Islam, work, da'wah and jihad. And he became as if he was a complete new man. And he said, this is as if I have been born again. Sayid Qutb was looking for the secret of life, and he found it. How did his journey begin? His journey started and began when he started to study the Quran in a literal way. He looked at the Quran. His background was always in Arabic literature